It's May 10th, 2021. This is Roqe. She came to recognition in the global Iranian community for her energetic presence as a presenter on Manoto television. But Shirin Nasseri has more recently been carving out a special space online where she is amassing a large following. She's a dancer, a producer, and a jewelry designer who is committed to being herself and not deferring to cultural expectations. And now the kid from Mashhad is working on the latest installment of her dance doc series and hosting Instagram live sessions where she washes dishes and finds an audience in the hundreds of thousands. A feature interview with Shirin Nasseri coming up, plus your letters of the week. This is Conversations from, to, and about the Iranian diaspora. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. This is Roqe. Hi there, welcome to episode number 109 of Roqe, coming to you from Toronto, Canada. With a salute to all of you joining us from around the world. Khosh omadin, welcome, durud bar shoma. We are on our ongoing mission to build a new audiovisual encyclopedia of Iranian diaspora identity. You can find us on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Instagram, Castbox, Telegram. Shai, can you turn me up a little bit?
Your headphone or your mic?
My mic. Well, what's the difference? I listen to my mic in the headphones. Keon, can you interpret this for Shaya?
You're on your own here.
Mikrofone bola biyar. Azizam.
Okay,
that's good. That's good. Thank you, Shaya.
And by ball BR, we don't mean
thank you. Hello to Groovy Shai, by the way.
Hi, Azizam.
And
hi.
Hello, Captain Reza.
Hello, sir.
And hello, the fabulous Keon.
Hi, Jian.
Oh, nice to see you guys smiling. What happened today? You guys all walked in as if you would ever bet. What happened this weekend?
I don't know.
Somebody get shot or something?
No. I was depressed. I was depressed.
Why were you depressed?
I
Yeah.
don't know, and I was
First of all,
cold.
you have a shawl on you. You're like a granny.
I
Not
know.
that there's anything wrong with grannies. Happy
No,
Mother's
but-
Day.
no.
And
Happy Mother's Day.
yeah, we love you all. But I mean, I was going to bring you some warm milk. You're sitting shivering in the.
Would have
What
been
happened
so
to you?
appreciated. I sort of like I needed a warm milk.
What is
a
it?
glass of warm milk.
Why are you
I
in bad
don't know.
spirits?
I woke up this morning. We had a Zoom meeting, and I was shivering cold.
Yeah.
I put on a robe. I came to the studio. I was still like depressed.
And you got the vaccine, right?
I did. I got the Pfizer. Like
the Rolls Royce. Yeah.
the top of the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got the good stuff.
Me, I'm getting the Astra.
You're getting the
I'm down with the peeps. You know, I'm going. I'm going.
God.
Going.
Shut
Mainstream.
Your ears are gonna fall off.
It's like the fast food of Who knows what they put in the vaccine I'm getting? It's like got some animal byproduct filler. Who knows? I don't know.
We'll pray for you.
But I'm happy to be getting it, and that's all I care about.
Good.
So okay, well, you got the Pfizer. What is it?
Yeah.
Why are you upset? What's going on?
I genuinely don't know. And I walked in, and then Keon walked in after.
Yeah, what
me,
happened
and
to you?
She was
and then
down
you're,
too.
We
and
had-
then
you're
I was
stomping
we were both-
around, Keon.
I'm burnt out, man. I need a vacation.
Well,
We've been
it's
in
just a
lockdown.
weekend.
We've been in lockdown for a year now.
No. First of all, I know your weekends aren't so bad. All right.
But why is that?
really?
I know. So why are you burnt out?
Well, first of all, we're in May now, and it's still like minus
All right.
10 degrees.
Yeah, that was
I'm
the
still in
actually,
covered in.
اصلا شاید ببین نگاه کن بعد از انقلاب ما زجر کشیدیم اینا رو گوش کن
But no, you know what? I take
چه
this for
سختی ما میدونیم که اینا اصلا
But you know what? I'm grateful. I have my health. I have you guys. Life is good.
all right, there you go.
No, I'm not
I
so
still want to kill myself, but
Turn
life
it
is
around.
good.
Shaya that
Shaya's in a good mood today.
Surat Mah Shaya is helping me through this.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of Leonard Cohen at
Oh.
the weekend. Yeah, and I
Cohen.
Cohen, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to say the hen part. Just Cohen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cohen, yeah.
Yeah.
And
French.
so after I watch your interview with Cohen, every time I watch Cohen, it reminds me of you.
Aw,
And
thank you.
yeah, but sometimes it ruins the spirit of the song because I remember of the interview.
What
and
he
it's-
said in the interview.
Yeah, and sometimes about the death, and it made me think
Mm.
deeply about death.
Way to bring down the mood, this guy.
So
Like,
how did
Never
Shia
mind, I
was
thought he
like-
was in a good
I
mood.
want to kill myself now.
No, but that's the difference, all right? Some people have died. You guys haven't died yet.
Yeah, that's
You're right.
right.
Knock on wood.
That is one of my favorite moments I've ever had, getting to interview Leonard Cohen at his house, that epic interview that we did. And now I'm sitting here with Keon. I mean, think about...
Life is even better than you thought it would be.
By the way, speaking of reasons to be excited, it's Ponta the artist's birthday today. Oh! Tavalo, tavalo, tavalo de Boborak. Ponta the artist, diligently working, creating graphics, creating artwork for the Roqe Empire. Now, I don't want to keep bringing this up, but every time we do a birthday card, now I'm the person collecting the signatures for everybody. Everybody, it comes to me, right? And everybody signed it one at a time. And then there's, like, Reza, I think you should use some kind of stamp. Like, get a, you know, one of those stamps you can get get a Reza logo.
Is it that bad?
And then you
My
just stamp.
handwriting.
I can't, I mean, I swear.
God.
And first of all, why is it so big? You took up half the card with your
I did.
chicken scratch.
I was one of the first ones to write, so I didn't
Yeah.
know what the size should be of
So
the
selfish.
Captain Reza, his writing is not one of his forte. I can't date you, Reza.
It's
We-
that
the
important to you.
option of dating you is over with that kind of writing.
Well, you know, that was
Yeah.
the only issue that was standing between us.
That's
dating,
right.
So
That's right. Anyway, happy birthday to Ponta, and please work harder, Ponta. Work harder on your birthday. Speaking of great energy, Shirin Nasseri coming up. Now, do you remember her, Shia, from Manitou Television?
Actually, yeah, I've watched the Shab Jom'eh. I think
Yes.
that was the program. I watched it once, and the only person actually captured my attention was Shirin
Oh.
because of her.
Let that be a lesson to everybody else who was on Manitou. did not capture Shia's attention. Now, let me tell you something interesting about this. She was famously, or she was well known from a program, as you say, on Manitou called Shabe Jom'eh. Now, the funny thing about that is the translation is, or in English, the name of that show is Thursday Night, the Thursday Night Show. And because I was prepping, I was doing my introduction for Shirin, and I was thinking, you know, for some folks out there like me, because I was a little confused about it until I came to talk to you about it, they're gonna hear me say the Thursday Night Show and then Shabe Jom'eh,
yeah.
which sounds like to me Friday night. Do you understand, Keon?
Yeah, it's kind of like the Charshamba Suri thing.
It's
where
exactly like
not-
that. So Shia, explain. It's that.
Yeah, when we say Shab Jom'eh, we mean the night leading to Jom'eh. I mean the night before Jom'eh. But if
That's
you want to say
very
Friday night,
confusing.
you have to say Jom'eh Shab.
Ah.
Did you get it?
Did you get it, Gian?
You're not making things easier for Keon. Oh no, I get it because you explained it to me before. I was looking at Keon. No, yeah, absolutely, I get it. It's very interesting though because I mean it's kind of fucked up to be honest. What kind of language is this?
Really?
Like, why put the word Jom'eh in?
If
You
it's
know,
not
if it's
Jom'eh.
Thursday night.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Shab Jom'eh.
it's I guess it means like Friday Eve.
The eve of
or the eve of Friday.
Eve,
The eve
yeah.
of Friday.
Yeah,
That makes
yeah.
no sense in my head.
But anyway, she was one of the hosts of Shabe Jom'eh, the Thursday night show, and so I know some folks will remember her from Manitou, but now she calls herself an entrepreneur. She is doing all kinds of things. A very interesting personality, boundless energy, a dancer. I follow her on Instagram, and it's really fun. A lot of her posts, and she's got a few different projects, including this documentary series about dance around the world. So we'll get to all of that with Shirin Nasseri in London, England, coming up in just a few moments. In the coming days on Roqe, Mehrdad Isfandi. So I've mentioned this before. He is originally from Ahvaz. I think he's still in his mid-30s or something. He is the production designer of the big films at Walt Disney Animation in Los Angeles. So, and he is the guy, if you think of some of the big Disney films in the last 3 or 4 years, Moana, for example.
Yeah.
He's the guy who drew the character. He created those characters.
That's so cool.
That are a multi-billion-dollar franchise. You know,
Living the dream. My
There
God,
you go.
That's a childhood dream right
and and what have you done, Keon?
there. Absolutely nothing.
I just had a bad weekend. That's all. That's all you have to show for it.
Exactly.
Merdod Isfandi. And then in the coming days on Roqe, Rastok, the fabulous folkloric. Do you say folkloric band? I would say folk band, but as I've been researching them, they're called folkloric. Mahali, musique Mahali. And they explore the different cultures of Iran through the generations in their music, and they're such a fun band. I'm really looking forward to having them on the program. Dr. Angie Sadeghi. Shaya?
Yes.
You still eat dairy, don't you?
Dairy like milk and cheese and.
That's correct. That is what dairy. Yeah. So you are going to have to give that up or not be around when this interview happens, because Dr. Angie Sadeghi, who is this amazing, well-known gastroenterologist and. She focuses on the digestive system. That's her focus as a doctor. But she's become better known, perhaps, in the online space for being an outspoken critic of dairy, of eating dairy, meaning she does not believe it's healthy for us, and an advocate of plant-based diets. She's a vegan. So she was a vegetarian and now has become a vegan. And the thing is that she walks the walk and talks the talk. She looks fabulous. Like she's a fitness person and she's living her best life. She says she's never felt better in her life. And when she was eating dairy, she says she was bloated, she was depressed, she had eczema, all of these things that she suggests, and we'll obviously talk to her about it in the interview, have disappeared since she stopped dairy.
Maybe that's why Keon and I were depressed this
That's
morning.
right. Have you been
It's
drinking a
time
lot of milk?
I do.
Reza?
With my coffee all the time.
Oh,
Or with
well,
my cereal. Like, I love it.
so you could switch to soy or almond milk.
That tastes
You know what she says, Reza? She says, why is it natural for us to drink the milk of a cow? You wouldn't drink the milk of most other animals. Like you wouldn't drink a dog's milk, you know?
Well,
You wouldn't even drink your own mother's milk as an adult, right?
I hope
So
not.
why...
That's a good image.
Well, I mean,
it's weird.
Happy Mother's
why is that weird? That's right. Shout out
image
to the
of-
mothers.
Image of adults.
Mother's Day.
But you still, but you think it's normal to drink the milk of a cow. This is what her argument, and it's a good one.
It's
I
also
mean,
a very cruel practice.
It
with
is.
the farming.
in fact, it's more cruel in some ways. She argues than just eating animals, which a lot of people swear off eating animals because of the cruelty,
Right.
the ethical factor. And she says the same issues apply for consuming dairy because of the practices that are involved in. Now I'm going to take this up with her because I don't want to give up cheese.
Yeah, that's the only.
Who
thing
can
for
give
me.
up?
Pizza,
I can't
like,
have cheese ever again.
Yeah.
You know, that's
crazy.
Yeah, what makes me sad actually, when I was child, I didn't like milk. But because in the school, in the TV, they always say you have to drink milk, you have to drink milk.
There
So
you go.
you're
what?
I'm sad.
Oh,
Thought maybe the computer stopped working or
I
something.
know. That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
But he took it so personally. He's like,
Well, Shaya, I mean that's that's part of the argument is that the dairy industry has filled our heads
Convinced
with
us,
propaganda over the years. Like, for example, saying that eggs are good for us, that eggs are somehow the most healthy thing. There are people who would still argue that, but she certainly would say that's propaganda.
But is there any guarantee that, let's say, in 20 years, some other people says that it's because of plant-based propaganda? And
Right.
No, there's no
any-
guarantee.
and
In
then-
fact, these things flip back and forth.
Exactly.
But there are people who argue, Shahjan, that 100 years from now, we'll be looking back at eating animals the way people now look back at the slave trade. The way we look back at will be like there'll be people sitting around going, they used to eat animals like these cannibals, these crazy people, and so who knows?
Now I'm curious. Now I'm looking forward to the interview. I want
Dr. Angie Sadeghi, and she's so great. She's a great spokesperson, I think, for this because she's very friendly, and it doesn't sound like she's lecturing you. She kind of just gives you, and she's a doctor. She knows what she's talking about. I'm sure there'll be people who disagree with her. It'll be great. And I'll try and push her during the interview and say, well, what about, some people, and it resonates for me. Some people say they feel better when they eat meat. They just feel they need it, So I want to see what she has to say about that. Anyway, Dr. Angie Sadeghi coming up. Rana Mansour, who, from what I understand, has no particular position on whether you drink milk or not, Shaya. So she just makes amazing music, although I'll ask her about that. Antonella Sacchetti. So Antonella Sacchetti, an Italian man who is into all things. He's a journalist and a blogger who became fascinated with Iran and all things Persian.
That's interesting.
And so now he's got a podcast. He's got a whole website devoted for years now to speaking to Iranians, speaking about Iranian issues, speaking about Persian culture.
And he has
all in Italian in Rome, no ties to Iran at all. He's just interested.
That's
Isn't that great?
Fascinating.
Yeah. And he has a big following.
Really?
Yeah.
Italians themselves have a pretty strong culture, so that's really that's a question for me. How did he get into Iranian culture?
Maybe you could start a blog about Italians.
Really.
As a response to
anything's
Antonella
possible
Sacchetti.
these days.
So all of that coming up in the coming days on Roqe. If you do like what you hear on this program, we ask you to become patrons of our show. You can go to our website, roqemedia.com, and just press the support us button. All of our episodes and guests and information, all of it is at our website. And we really appreciate it, especially if you're a regular listener of this program and you like what we do. $5, $10 a month, Kian?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely keeps us alive. So if you like what you hear, this is a way to support us.
So I want to get to our guest, but I just wanted to mention that I took a shout out to Mojtaba and Manacher. I took my car. My car is actually not even that old. It's like less than a couple years old, but it was having some problem with the brake pads. I had taken it to the dealership, and the dealership said, "Oh yeah, you worn down your brake pads, so we can replace that for you. It's like $2,000." And it seemed like a lot, so or way too much. I called my cousin, who's the best. He knows all things cars, and he goes, "I know a guy. I got somebody for you. Go see Mojtaba."
It's always a Mojtaba.
So it turns out, Mojtaba is up in Stouffville. Now, we live in Canada, we live in Toronto. It's a big city, and you'd have to drive at least an hour north of from where I live downtown, which I did early Saturday morning to go up and see this.
Mojtaba.
I mean, there's a garage somewhere in a field, and the writing, like the sign on the garage is in Farsi. What's happening to my country? My life is flashing before my eyes. I mean, when I grew up, in this not far from this area after we came from England, it was all white people and conservative, and there was. And now, some garage up in Stouffville. So I think it's called like Dad's Auto Garage or something like that. I showed it to you, the sign.
تعمیرگاه پدر.
Right. So I get there, but here's the story. I mean, and I gotta thank them. They fixed it, but not without some heartache because I get up there and I see the guy coming out and I go, سلام من ژیان هستم کازن من گفته که شما میتونم حرف بزنم. And so I started by speaking Farsi, right? So then the guy is talking to me in Farsi, and then like after about a minute or two he goes, تو که فارسی خوب بلد نیستی. Like he's kind of like and I'm go, خب در انگلستان به دنیا آمدم. I grew up in England, that's why I don't speak Persian so اصلا یعنی چیزی بلد نیستی تو. He's like, and he's making me feel, he's like, بچه من از تو بهتر حرف میزنه. My kid that I brought to Canada can speak better than you, right?
That one hurts.
And so I'm feeling really kind of like bad about this. And then the other guy comes and he goes, Manacher. He's like screaming across the garage to the other guy, Manacher, به این حرف نزن. Don't talk to this guy. He's like pointing at me. به این حرف این فارسی اصلا بلد نیسته.
God.
از خارج اومده این, Like he's calling me a foreigner, right?
And it's
So
Canada.
I'm feeling so bad about myself. And then I thought, this is such an interesting sociocultural study here,
Wow,
because
yeah.
where are we? I'm in Stouffville. I'm in like rural Ontario at this point. And I'm feeling bad because I can't speak Persian. It's like, dude, why are you guys not speaking English with me, right? I mean, I love the guy. Mushtaba, we ended up having some French fries together. Me and Mushtaba, we're hanging out now.
Pals.
That's it.
He fixed the brake pads. And it's so funny. They got this whole ecosystem. At one point, he was like, he's like, go 13 kilometers over here, talk to a guy like Mohammed Reza, and that guy will give you something, and then bring it back here. Like, I was running around. Yeah, he's making phone calls. You go, he's got, and they're all Persians, and none of them speak English to me.
The picture you showed me, now I understand it's Toronto. I thought it's in Qazvin or something. Oh, really?
Yeah, no, it's like it's just north of the city, but yeah, I mean it's amazing. It's amazing that Persian culture that somebody feels comfortable being there, and then while I was there, all these clients started coming. I need my windshield done. I need my tires done. They're all Persians.
Wow.
Like he's like, oh, that's all. Like, I'm the only one like who was like, and he has to explain to each new person that comes in. It's like Batman John, but you have that, and he forced about it.
Maybe I want to talk to somebody.
And he was yelling at me like he was like,
Shame on you.
Das gotta be, and I'd be like, the brakes, right? Like he was just like screaming like that. I don't know. Anyway,
This is why I don't speak Persian when I go to Persian places, just to make my
See?
life easier. It's
That
like
would have been the game.
right?
Yeah.
To not even let on, because they're gonna get mad at you for not speaking well enough.
Yeah.
It's so
Like,
weird.
Shame on you. This is your mother tongue.
And he didn't. There was never a moment where he had any shame or any issue that he doesn't speak English.
interesting.
There was nothing,
So interesting.
And the best part was when I was like, because the dealership said, and he was like, ke chizi balad nistan inja, like these people here don't know anything, like your dealership, It was great. It was great. Anyway, thank you to Mojtaba and Mano Chair for the. I owe you some. Next time I'll turn up with some baklava or something, for the boys. I know we got some letters to get to after Shirin.
Yeah, we have some letters from, the Jasmine Darznik episode, as well as the Persian yoga.
Yes. Zurkhune.
Zurkhune.
looking forward to
Some
that.
opinions on that.
Yes. All right. We will get to that. Letters of the week coming up. The fabulous Keon, Captain Reza, Groovy Shia. Stick around. Let's get to our featured guest. Our guest today is a dancer, a TV presenter, a producer, and a jewelry designer. But you may know her from her very frank and energetic online presence. Shirin Nasseri was born in Mashhad, grew up in Tehran, and spent her teenage years in Frankfurt, Germany. In 2014, Shirin moved to the UK and did a master's in design and branding strategy at Brunel University, London, after which she established her own brand called Shirin Nasseri Handcrafted Jewelry. And it was soon after that in which Shirin's life changed as she became a high-profile broadcaster on Manoto TV as of 2015. She started at Manoto in the newsroom as a presenter and segment producer, and then later moved to the entertainment department and co-presented a primetime celebrity game show called Thursday Night Show, or Shab Jomeh. Given her lifelong passion for dance, Shirin then launched a documentary dance series on Manoto called Shirin Dance, in which she travels to different parts of the world and explores the world of dance in each region, as well as learning the culture. The first series came out in January 2019, consisting of 3 episodes about different styles of dance in the UK and Ireland, hip-hop, ballroom, and folk. And in the second series, which aired in autumn 2019, Shirin went to India and learned about different styles of Indian dance. She has since left Manoto and is now working on the third part of the dance series independently, as well as launching a new business, doing podcasts, selling her jewelry, and living the life of a multi-passionate entrepreneur, as she calls herself. And right now, Shirin Nasseri joins me from London, England today. Hello.
Hi, Jian. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction.
Such a pleasure to have you on the program. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm really excited. I'm trying to keep it cool.
I want to get into your time as a Manoto TV personality. I want to get into your time, your lifelong passion for dance and the current documentary you're working on. But let me start with a through line, if you will, that seems to form the underpinning of all that you do or say, if I've watched your social media enough. A lot of your message, Shirin, is about being genuine. You repeat that a lot. What does being genuine mean to you, and why is it so important for you to keep talking about that?
That's a tough question. I was not expecting that as the first question. Okay, genuine, be yourself. That is what I try to spread through my presence in digital world. Yes, basically, because in our society in Iran, we are taught from the first day we entered the society outside our first circle of family, we are taught to represent something else aside from who we really are, because we have to. We go to school as a girl, as a 6-year-old girl, I have to put marna hijab on my head. And we keep, our parents keep telling us, listen, if when you went to school, don't say we had alcohol last night, don't say this. So we learn from the early stages to have two or many variations of our characters. Some of them are not even our character, are made up. And I was lucky that I never was encouraged by my parents and my family to change myself that much. So I didn't lose that authenticity as much as a lot of people probably had to. I think unintentionally or very under the radar, I was being encouraged for however I was by family, relatives, friends. So unconsciously, I learned that this is how I get more audience. And I think naturally and by instinct, I like to have audience.
Well, that's interesting. Let me come to that. But you may not have been ready for this as your first question, but that was a really interesting answer. I wouldn't have necessarily tied the genuine, the notion of embracing being genuine with cultural suppression, and yet it makes sense in terms of the way you're casting it and what you're saying. Do you almost say it when you post something on Instagram and you reinforce it, for example, by saying be yourself, be genuine? Are you almost simultaneously saying this to your audience, to your followers, to your fans, and saying it to yourself as well, reminding yourself not to be suppressed somehow?
No. I cannot be something else. Maybe that's a weakness, maybe. Or maybe it is both strength and weakness.
So you don't need to be reminded to be genuine. That this comes, this is just you. You've learned that about yourself.
Yeah, I don't need to be reminded because I can't not be genuine.
I mean, I guess everyone would like to say something like that, but having watched what you do, I believe you. I believe that you could only be, I mean, you are very open about yourself and interacting online with your fans. One gets the sense, first of all, that there's no topic that in general that's off limits to you. Is that true? You are ready to be open when you post something online or when you do the kind of work you do in the public sphere. Is that true?
Yes and no. No, because there are some stuff that I don't like to talk about it, not because I'm afraid of, in the sense that I don't censor myself, but I don't think my audience sometimes is ready to have empathy with what I say. So they would interpret it very wrongly, and it will affect people who are not me. I have talked about my previous relationship on someone else's page, but I didn't talk about it on my own page because my audience is so shuffled from different categories that they might not even comprehend what I am trying to say.
Can you give a specific example of what you mean? Because it sounds quite.
Okay, so
yeah, go ahead.
Because most people think black and white, and they don't see gray. And if I say something about divorce, they will go straight to the worst case scenario.
I see.
I don't need to explain to whoever, I don't know who is behind that camera, about my life in that regard.
A couple of days ago, I mean, just to give people a reference, you posted a video of yourself washing dishes and just talking live to your followers. I mean, it has almost 100,000 views. This is, to be clear, this is not a sexy quote unquote TikTok video, nor are you really saying or doing anything outrageous. I mean, you're just washing dishes and talking like a normal person. Most people, Shirin, couldn't post a video of themselves doing dishes and get 100K clicks in a day or two. Why do you think people are so interested in you?
I think because I talk about things that a lot of people hold back to talk about those things. I make fun of myself, first of all, so they don't think that I'm looking down on them, because I'm not. And I'm nobody. People think on Clubhouse, a lot of times people have mentioned this to me. Oh, we are so surprised that a person like you is so khaki, humble. And I'm like, who is this? The person like me? Like, what do you mean a person like? Because Jian, I haven't come from a famous background. My family was not a celebrity or even a rich family in the first place. And I'm not rich anyway, but people think because I was on TV, I'm rich.
Right.
Yeah, I think the reason why they love to watch it is because they see a young woman making fun of herself, not trying to fit into this beautiful image, and talk nonsense, and in between throw some useful points as well for people to learn. You're
certainly genuine when you as you say, when you're washing your dishes. And do you, when you talk about important points for people to learn, do you go into a situation like that, a live Instagram, knowing what you're going to talk about, or does this just come out of you? No, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I talk about things people comment and say. Getting to know you a little bit in recent weeks and in preparation for this interview, thinking about you and hearing you now talk about your desire to be, not just your desire to be genuine, but your inability to be anything else but. It is somehow, at least in my experience, having been on network TV for many years in my past, it can be incompatible with being on a big network, where people are to a certain extent expected to be in line. So let me continue this thread of genuineness, this idea, and ask you about your time on Manitoba, because you are best known to many Iranians around the world for your years at Manitoba Television, first as a news presenter, as I said in the intro, then as one of the hosts of a popular program, Shabbat Joymeh, Thursday night, then for your dance series. When I see you on Manitoba, when I look back at those programs, I do still see Shirin with your radiant personality, but you have described your time there as really confining, like you were in some sort of cage. Did you feel like you could not be genuine on network TV? I felt that I cannot be genuine to 100%, yes. And I think if I was on ITV or BBC or any other show that is not Farsi, I could be myself. Now you can tell me if I'm wrong or right. Why do you think that? Why do you think the Farsi element, the Persian element, makes it less possible to be genuine? Because when I watch Western shows, English, British shows, I find a lot of people being however they are, even on Gogglebox, right? The Gogglebox, the English version, they are how they are. And I know a lot of people judge them as well. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But on Iranian Gogglebox, people already everyone has a mask on. On Shabbat Joymeh, I was the closest I was to myself.
But again, if I hated someone, I couldn't show that. So yeah, I couldn't be 100%. I don't like to be teamed up with someone that I hate or I don't have respect for. And I was teamed up with people that I didn't have respect for. I know. Maybe I'm not a corporate person, or maybe I'm not a TV person. I don't know.
So let me take this one step at a time. Who was the person that we would have been seeing on Manoto then? Who was the Shirin that we were seeing on Shabe Jome?
Oh, it was Shirin. It was just a bit a more lady version of Shirin.
I mean, so wouldn't that be the same if you were working in a Tesco shop or, representing or working on an airline? Or, I mean, isn't that just like part of the working for a company? You have to kind of follow the rules.
Sure. Yeah. I get. That's what I say. That's why I say maybe I should be an entrepreneur, because I can't work for someone else, because then I have to fit into their box. Yeah.
But there is something to we had Pune Kodusi on the show not too long ago.
Yes.
Maybe you know her personally. In fact, she's in London. So, and she, of course, famously has been on BBC Persian and BBC World. And on BBC World in English, she had 10 times the audience. But she said that it was so much easier for her not dealing with the Persian audience and, the sort of fickle nature of the viewers of BBC Persian. It's kind of an indictment of our community. Why is it so hard?
I know why.
Okay, you tell me.
The reason is we Iranians inside Iran are being so oppressed. Listen, like if you imagine the Maslow's hierarchy, they are in the base of their needs. They are struggling to fight for food and like the basic needs of a society. So they cannot cherish, they cannot be creative, because creativity and cherish is at the top of that pyramid. Therefore, they have been deprived from having the ability to consider other scenarios in life. It's hard to accept. It's hard to imagine this freedom that we have here. It's not still complete freedom.
But so the part that I don't understand is, I mean, I get the suppression that you're talking about in Iran, but isn't the fact that you have this big following as the woman washing her dishes and being as open as you are now, isn't that a testament to the fact that people want to see, quote unquote, as we say, genuine people? So why wouldn't Manoto want you to be who you are, so that, because clearly that's what the audience is interested in?
No, Manoto was not like you shouldn't be this or you shouldn't be that. But why I felt like it's time for me to leave Manoto was just the fact that my standards and my values didn't match theirs, and I didn't get the respect that I needed to get. I have a lot of skills and abilities, and I was being suppressed either by I don't know what politics played in every corporation, and it's inevitable, but I couldn't, because they knew I can, and the roof was too low for me.
When did you know you could no longer be comfortable at Manoto, that you wanted to leave? Was there a moment?
After Shirin Dance in India finished, I demanded promotion in terms of the projects that I get, because I could. And the opposite in a way happened. I'm not saying intentionally or whatever, but it wasn't the right way to, as the leader or the person who is managing that should have done it rightly, and they didn't, and they demoted me instead. So I was like, listen, this mindset that if I left Manoto, it's not my life doesn't come to an end. And that's the mindset that it was going on. And I couldn't accept that, because, I mean, I have so many talents that I can do, as you can see already. I didn't become bad-bashed.
Right. I mean, that said, was it hard to leave a gig that comes with a regular paycheck and comes with some celebrity and all of that.
The paycheck only, celebrity, no, doesn't. I don't mind if all these followers go away right now. Really, I don't mind. I can write and sign it for you. But the paycheck, of course, and pandemic. I quit in the middle of pandemic, at the peak of pandemic. But sometimes I do stupid things. However, I take risks, but I took therapy sessions and my therapist pulled me out of the darkness and everything just switched. She just flicked the switch and my mentality and point of view switched into, why do you keep saying, what if I can't? Darling, what if you fly? It took time. I did my homework, but yeah.
You just said a moment ago you don't care if all your followers go away.
No.
Forgive me, I believe you're being genuine, but at the same time I don't believe you. Because
Maybe I enjoy interacting with people, but if I lose these followers, I will get another follower somewhere else. That's what I mean. A lot of people who were angry with me leaving Manoto said, do you know that this fame, you owe it to Manoto? Do you know that this number of followers, you owe it to Manoto? And I was yes, I know that. And I'm not saying no, but half of the job was mine. I did the work as well. It's a two-way road, first of all. Second of all, if you all want to unfollow me, please do. And I feel really good because I became the rude bitch that I can be and still gained followers. And my friends and family were kind of concerned where they were like, Shirin, darling, don't do that. Your followers will drop, my darling. I said, okay, let them drop. I'm not here to please them. We are here to please each other. That's what I'm saying.
By the way, before you go too far with the rude bitch stuff, if there's one overriding feeling I have, following you on social media is positivity. You usually have a very positive, infectious energy. In case anybody doesn't follow you and is listening to this thinking that you're some dour, morose, angry person, I missed the one the live that you did where you got angry at someone. Yeah. I always just see this. I talk about the infectious energy I feel from you, which is always very positive.
I love ranting. After I left Manoto, one thing that I enjoy is that I can rant.
Yes. It's harder to rant when you have a corporate. And by the way, when you said earlier, I wonder if it would be the same if I was on an English network. It is. I mean, it's certainly if you're with maybe not with a private network, but certainly the BBC. Having worked in public broadcasting for years, it's like the equivalent of being a politician. You have to watch what you say. You're always on guard because somebody's going, "You're the BBC person. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be saying that." So I don't think you would find your Garden of Eden working at BBC, even if it wasn't English.
Maybe, yes, I think so too. But what about the comedians, the hosts of these game shows? They can rant.
True. Well, yes, there's a difference between a presenter and somebody who is a comedian, and so it depends on the gig you have. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
yes, yeah. Something that's interesting about your confidence is you've said that you realized how confident you were. You first really realized it when you ended up on TV. What was it about being on Manoto that made you realize that you have this confidence that seemingly you've always had?
Nobody told me before I came on TV that, oh my God, you're so confident. Maybe it's because I didn't ever have any audience apart from my friends and family. I wasn't a famous person in any scale, right? So I didn't know that. But after I came on TV, because strangers then knew me, they said you're very confident, both in a negative and a positive format. Some people hated the fact that I have confidence. They got sick. Some people loved it and got inspired, and I fixate on that part.
let me ask you about dance. I mean, there's certainly a freedom of expression in you. As I said, I call it infectious. You are clearly passionate about dance. And that has been your focus in recent years when you did the dance series for Manator, and you're doing a dance documentary continuing on that independently now. I know you've always loved dance. What is it about dance that makes it such a focus for you?
You've definitely heard that dance like no one's watching. Yeah. When I am dancing, that's all I care. Like, I don't care if I look like a monkey.
And this passion comes from your mom, yes?
I remember this vivid thing. She played Modern Talking, Sherry, Sherry Lady, like that. And she said, when I was 18, I used to dance like this. I was even thinner than you. That I remember that vividly. Yeah.
Don't get me started on Modern Talking, a band that no one has heard of except for Iranians. But anyway, it's very genuine that you have a passion for them. Let me ask you a little bit about your childhood in dance, because you have quite a story. I mean, those of us who have a globalized kind of upbringing can barely match someone like you. You're the zigzag of your childhood. You were born in Mashhad in Iran. Then you end up moving to Dubai as a little kid, then back to Iran, then to Germany in your teens and in the early 2000s, and then back to Iran before moving to the UK. Were you dancing in all of those places?
I mean, not professionally, unfortunately, but yes, I've been dancing in all of them.
Your parents are teachers, though. I mean, to ask you seriously, what were the effects of such a nomadic upbringing on you? Have you been able to assess that?
Sure. One thing that it's always a topic of conversation, for instance, with Maral, if people had Maral on your show, they know that she loves Iran and she was born in that home and she has built a home here. Maral is my best friend, and when we talk about it, this is always something like I'm like, I don't understand what you call like خیابونای تهران, or, you know, I don't feel like, oh, I miss walking in that particular street in Iran or something. And that is why, probably because we kept moving houses, cities, countries, and I move quite easily from house to house, even in the UK now. You know, in movies, when you see parents are like, kids, we are selling the house, and they're like, oh no, what about my boxes of shit like in the attic? I'm like, what about them? I threw all my diaries away. I threw all the gifts I got from my boyfriends away. Like, what are you talking about? But the first time that happened to me was my last apartment, which I got it solely. I bought the furniture. I lived alone in it. And when I had to let go and move, that was the first time I felt, and I cried and I said goodbye to the house. Other than that, I never felt even moving countries or something. And probably that's because since I was born, we kept moving and I didn't feel like,
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, that I knew this about you because you joined us on Clubhouse. We had a Roqe Town Hall not too long ago. And when I asked you where you considered home, which was kind of the topic of that town hall, you said you don't feel like you belong anywhere. And I wonder if that feeling, especially because you obviously know people who feel very attached to a country or a home or a street or all the things you just described, is the feeling of not belonging anywhere a difficult feeling for you or an emancipating one, something that feels like freedom?
That's a good question. No, because I feel belong to people instead of places. I might be wrong, but I think that I can build a home wherever I go with the people. I'm not really a too picky kind of a person. I'm happy with one or two people around me, and I can call it like a family or home or something. I cannot have my parents. I haven't been successful having my parents over here in the UK yet, but I'm sure if they come here, then Iran doesn't mean that much to me.
That means I guess you haven't seen your parents for a few years, huh?
Yeah.
That's not easy.
No. As you get older, it becomes even more serious, the fact, like, because you become more mature and you realize that all those times where you were frustrated with their taroffing or whatever was valuable, and you didn't really cherish it.
And I'm guessing because you were on Manitou, it's not an option for you to go back to Iran.
No.
When you talk to someone like, by the way, it's Maral Mohammadi, the fabulous artist and presenter on Iran International that you're referencing when you talk about Maral, who was on our program. When you talk about her missing Iran so much and considering it home, there's something about, I mean, as difficult as it is, for example, for someone like Maral living in London and not being in Iran, there's something about loving a place so much and identifying it so much as your home that is quite beautiful, like something that you don't have.
I understand why Maral, we are making example with Maral because I know she doesn't mind.
Okay.
I understand why Maral would feel so attached and miss Iran and have feelings, because she wasn't on the move constantly. And she has made deep friendships aside from her family in Iran. Because we were on the move constantly, I have really close friends, but I kept having to say goodbye to them.
But it's very generous of you that you're not angry at your parents for this. I mean, not that I want to foster some.
I had so much fun. I learned so much stuff. I saw so much. Going to Dubai, when we went to Dubai was nothing.
But most kids don't want to leave, one neighborhood to go to the next one to have to move their high school. You're moving from country to country to country. It never bugged you or pissed you off that you had to keep making new friends?
No, I'm broken.
No, you're not. You're I'm very impressed with how, I mean, it's great. Good for you and good for your parents. I mean, they've done a good job of it, I suppose.
Yeah, jokes aside, I don't feel anything, and I don't have any anger towards it. I am grateful for what that matters, because the experience that I've gained, maybe the fact that I am so comfortable living the rest of my life outside Iran as an independent person, independently, maybe I owe it to that.
Absolutely. You're solid. You're solid. You don't feel like there's part of you that's missing. That's amazing. There's a moment in 2006 when you were in Germany as a teenager, and your parents, I think if I have this story right, your parents say to you, they will support you if you stay in Germany. They're going to go back to Iran, but if you want to stay there, you have some family there, you can make your life in the West, they'll let you do that. They will support you doing that. And you say you want to return to Iran. Why?
Because I was a teenager who had a internet boyfriend in Iran, first boyfriend, and all she wanted to do was to go and date him properly, like a stupid person would do. I think that was a lie telling my parents, because I couldn't tell them about the boyfriend. I said, what about my friends? Oh my God, like I will die without my friends. And
was the boy worth it when you got back to Iran?
Oh, definitely. He wasn't a bad boy. We dated for like a good 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you go back to Iran and you end up doing industrial design in university in Tehran. It's interesting. If your passion is dancing since you're a kid, I don't know the answer to this. Is dancing even an option in university in Tehran?
It wasn't an option at all. So we wouldn't even say, oh, I wish I could do dancing. No. It was just a passion, hobby, and I was doing as much as I could. I would watch. I was into Bollywood that time, very severely. And I would, instead of going out with my friends or going out with my parents, cycling in the beautiful nature of Frankfurt, I would stay at home, our very, very, very small home apartment, and I would put the Indian music videos on slow motion so I can break down the moves and then copy them and then practice them and then perform them for friends and family. That's all.
I mean, it's a few years later in 2019, you end up going to India and doing a documentary on dance where you're dancing on camera. So you've actualized some of your dreams.
Yes. India is by far the best thing that happened to me. It's the best of the best experience that I have, because I went to the country where I always dreamt. I photoshopped my pictures on the celebrity's wedding picture on his wife's face. So yeah, I owe it to my passion for dance. I have a mixed feelings, to be honest with you, Jian, because I left Manoto with a with a broken heart in a way. I was proud to be doing Raqs Shirin, but a lot of it went in a direction where I didn't want it to go because I wasn't the producer. It's my baby who is dressed by its stepmom, the mean stepmom. I don't watch it, unfortunately. I can't watch it.
Even though you're doing a new part to it coming up, you're going to continue it without Manotoa.
Yeah, I'm continuing it in another format and everything, in English language. I love what I will be doing, but I cannot watch what is already done because I get cringe.
That's hard.
Yeah.
When you were talking about loving dance and being in Frankfurt and sitting home and watching the Bollywood dance, why Bollywood? Why Indian dancing? Why not salsa or jazz or hip hop or what was it about Bollywood and those dance styles that so resonated for you?
Because since I can remember, ZTV was on. ZTV is MTV for India.
Okay.
But when we went to Dubai, I was probably 4 and we had ZTV on. My mom recorded so many Indian music on VHS.
Wow.
And then when I was in middle school, my uncle came to Iran from the US and he said, guys, I know this Indian movie called Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham. It means Gahi Khushi Gahi Gham. It means sometimes sorrow, sometimes happiness. You should watch it. We watched it. We were in tears, all of us, because it's such an emotional movie. And I fell in love with the actor and I started my weblog about him. Number 1 fan. Yeah.
When you're in your late teens and early 20s, I guess, in Iran, you end up teaching Zumba as a substitute for dance. Now, can you explain for non-Iranians how dance is not allowed, but Zumba is, or how Zumba becomes the closest you can get to what you wanted to do with dance?
Sure. Basically, women can dance if they are in a only women group, closed area. We, as women, we cannot dance in the street or in public. We can't. We don't have nightclubs in Iran, as you should know, but there are night parties in houses of like people's homes, but that's still illegal. So police can barge in and arrest people. However, if that party is only for women, if that gym class, Zumba class is only for women, taught by women, only women, that's fine. So I didn't know about Zumba. I did 4 or 5 years aerobics, constant aerobic classes, because I was interested in rhythmic movement with music. And then 1 year I went to register or sign up for the new term, and I saw people doing Zumba, like the African style, which I love. I said, what? What is this? What is that? And she was like, that's called Zumba. I was like, oh, show me more. So I went, and because I have a talent for dance. This is something that I know. I'm not saying I'm a professional dancer, but I learn quick and I get it.
You have a knack. You have a knack for dancing.
Exactly. I have a knack for dancing. So I picked up the move so quickly. My instructor got impressed. She said, I will make you an instructor. She introduced me to 2 other gyms. I became a Zumba instructor. But again, because all the sanctions and everything with Iran, Zumba company doesn't have any business with Iran. Therefore, we don't have licensed teachers there. And if you want to be licensed, you have to go to Dubai or Turkey and get the license or something. And it's very expensive. And I wasn't a rich kid. But I came to the UK and I got my license here. Yeah.
When you arrive in the UK in 2014, I mean, it's officially to do your master's. Did you know that you had left Iran forever at that point? Was that the intention?
I wanted to leave Iran for good, but I didn't at all want to work with at Manitou, not because of anything. We loved watching Manitou back in Iran. Not because of that, because I never wanted to become famous.
But hang on a second. Before Manitou, I'll get to that. But when you leave to come to the UK to do your masters, when you're leaving Iran at that point, when you're saying goodbye to your parents, did you have a sense that this is going to be it for you, or did you go thinking you might actually return to Iran?
No, I didn't think that I would return unless I had to. Unless I had to. But I didn't think that I can't go back to Iran at all. Yeah.
Right. And within a year, you apply for and get this job at Manitou. It's you are someone who seems to be able to just make things happen wherever you go. You didn't have much broadcasting experience. How is it that they suddenly put Shirin Nasseri on air?
2 reasons. One, I am very lucky. Second, you don't really, I didn't become a news journalist.
Right.
I became a news presenter in the segment of social media, trending news within social media. And I had skills for that because I was good with social media. I knew a lot of computer softwares and everything, and I am a designer and everything. So, and my audition went really well, surprisingly well. Yeah, so it went well. And I don't want to say this. I don't know. I don't know if it will cause any legal shit, but you don't really need journalism background to be employed by Manitou.
Well, you don't need journalism background to be employed by any news or any TV
there
network.
You go.
There's talented people who don't necessarily haven't gone to journalism school, but you seem to be making a point about Manitou. In particular, do you want to make that point?
Manitou is like a college for their staff. They train people. I learned so much from Manitou. I would never become an editor if it was not because of Manitou, of course. But where I think they making the mistake is you invest in people. You shouldn't let go of people that easily. So they don't deny the fact that we help people shine in their best possible way. But yeah.
It's so interesting, And I totally get it. But from the outside, sometimes we see things and they look just dreamy. I mean, you had a very successful run at Manitou for a few years. Here's this young woman comes from Iran. Suddenly she's storming up the charts. She's got this one show and she moves to another show and she's got this prominent gig and then she gets to do her dance documentaries. But behind the scenes, you said you were having panic attacks. You were not enjoying your time there. What happened?
The panic attacks only apply for when I was in news, and because that was completely far from the person that I am.
Okay.
This is truth that a lot of people who are in senior levels don't know how to act professionally, or didn't know maybe at that time. Maybe they have been educated now. But back then, I remember I was harassed, like verbally shouted at and bullied in front of the whole crew in the studio because I got panicked on live television and I had to say, excuse me, and then continue. And instead of the right way to deal with it, I got shouted at and humiliated, extremely humiliated in front of people. So,
but nevertheless, you stay at Manitou for a few years after that.
I had no choice back then.
Why is that?
Because I was a junior and I was afraid. I was younger and I found my way around it. I proved the point that you cannot talk to me like that. I got out of news. I did something about it because my problem was not Manitou at that time. My problem was that particular person.
Shirin, you said that when you finally left Manitou, I mean, this was only a year or a couple of years ago, you felt like you were leaving Iran for a second time. It's a pretty heavy thing to say. Can you explain what you mean?
For a person like me who doesn't really love our, if you want to say culture or the way people interact with each other, let's call it culture. I'm not a fan of our culture, at least the modern way, because I love the art, the architecture, the whatever. I don't like the way we interact with each other. And Manitou is a small scale, is a sample of the country.
Oh, it's a microcosm of what you'd find in Iran, you feel?
Yes. And to be honest with you, if I was happy with the way it was being managed, I wouldn't leave. So I find a lot of similarity with how it is like, oh no, we are a family, but we are not a family. We are a family, and some of you people who we tell you that you're a family, but only when we want you to be a family.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, without belaboring it, that strand of, or that nature of Iranian culture that you have a distaste for, that you say you find the microcosm of in Manitou. Can you describe what that is?
Yeah, it's the high level of people's nose in each other's business. It's extremely high, from the closest circle to the society that you live in. Everyone feels that they have the right to comment on your personal matters when you don't want their comment. But the most of it is the fact that it's people having two faces and being hypocrites. Yes.
Why do we want to put our noses in everything and two-faced and all of that?
I mean, every society evolves and learns from their mistakes and comes up with new rules as a government. Like, women couldn't vote 100 years ago in the UK. Now they can. Yes. Rules are changing. People are being educated. Kids are being taught that in school you shouldn't think that because you're a girl you should love pink or you should be a princess and look for your prince.
Right.
These updates are not being applied to our country. New versions of the app is not being updated.
It's a pretty sad assessment of contemporary Iran. Not just already behind, but lagging behind in the progress as well.
Yeah. It is very sad.
Before I let you go, I'm curious about what all of what you do, what it is about for you, because you've said a couple of times, you said you didn't come to Manitou for celebrity. You've told me that you didn't go into media for fame. It was like you wanted a job and you got a job. But at the same time, you've got podcasts, you do regular Instagram live sessions, you're planning a new series on dance, you do put yourself out there. You are a public person. So if it's not about fame, or if it's not about celebrity, or if it's not about being known, what is it about?
I enjoy having an audience, but it doesn't mean that if I was not in a public figure, if I did not start my job in Manitou or any television, I would pay people to get numbers of followers. That's all. I like to have audience, but I will not force people to have me as their presenter.
Right. But what's the difference between not wanting fame and wanting an audience? Really, I don't know what's the difference.
I mean, I wouldn't want to become very famous in the UK because the celebrity's life is always under the camera and radar. I don't want to be followed. I don't want to be I don't know, Billie Eilish, who everyone now recognizes. No. And I am famous in Iran. But when I go out here, nobody gives a damn about who I am, really. I like that. So I have control. I like to be in control.
It's been such a pleasure. Merci, thank you for this. Thanks for the time. Thanks for sharing so much. Thanks for the empathy and the honesty. And looking forward to seeing you in person before too long.
Thank you, Jian. I had the best time. Thank you for having me, and love to all of your team and you. And talk to you later.
Merci. Khodafez.
Khodafez.
Shirin Nasseri, the dancer, TV presenter, producer, jewelry designer. You can find her on her popular Instagram page, I Am Shirin. I Am Shirin with 2 N's on the end. Shirin Nasseri joined us from London, England today. Microphone's back on for the fabulous Kian, Captain Reza, and Groovy Shaya. Nice to have Shirin on the program.
Actually, it was a friendly chat, and I'm surprised how she's angry of working in Manitou.
Very frank. She's very frank about her experience there, for sure.
Yeah.
I can understand how she's angry with an Iranian network. It's pretty difficult to work with. I mean, I might strike a nerve saying this, but in general, working with Iranians is difficult. Like, she got yelled at. That, to me, is not okay.
Have you had an experience working for Iranian network?
Well, I've had experience hosting Iranian events, and the problem is, it's like the Wild West. There's no law. They don't. It's not regulated. They just like plan everything like khar to khare, kind of thing. So I can only imagine how it is working for an Iranian network.
But we don't know if that's the way it was for the network, or if she just had a bad experience or a bad boss or whatever.
But I can only assume that's what she means.
Yeah. But she's very energetic. Like for somebody in her position, I mean that comes from her background. I think her energy, and she's being such an upbeat and positive person. She's a dancer. I've never met like a Debbie Downer dancer, really, or somebody who's like, I don't know. Jian, you've had a lot of experience like
with dancers,
dancers and musicians. No, but because you're a musician, I can only assume that you've Met
No,
quite a few of them.
I think
along
dancers
your
are
way.
humans like everybody else. They have their
Really?
ups and downs,
And
Captain Reza.
She also touched an interesting point, saying that when you're living in Iran, you basically have to put on a mask, like to the public. You're basically trained to lie as a child. You're, when you go to school, make sure you say, this, and that.
She did say that.
I don't know about you guys, but I've noticed that there's like a completely different, like my experience with Iranians that have recently come here, it's like day and night when you compare it to Iranians that have been in the West for a long time. And it's something that I struggle with. I can't really connect with a lot of Iranians that are recent here because there's just such a gap in.
I don't know. I might be wrong. My personal view on this whole idea of being trained to lie and put on a face is that I think it starts with ta'aruf, believe it or not. And it's good to an extent, like politeness and being respectful and all of that is definitely is part of the whole culture of ta'aruf, right? Yeah. But I think we've overdone it, and it's gotten to a level of dishonesty almost. And
But you can't blame repressive laws of a quasi-theocracy on ta'aruf.
Right.
I mean, people are putting on faces partly because they have to put on a face to not go to Zandon or something. Right?
And that goes back to how like Iranian networks are ran, for example. These same people run them with this kind of attitude. This is my own personal view on this matter.
Dictatorship.
So. Anyway.
I would guess that there's probably people who work at networks who have not had that experience, and there's a lot of Iranian networks, and they're not all the same, and so we should be careful about that. But it was certainly interesting that the culture she was talking about could be a mirror of the broader Iranian culture, which she seemed to be implying there as well. All right. We'd love to hear from you on that and anything else. You can comment on our platforms or info@roqemedia.com. Let's get to our letters of the week. What do you got, Kian?
All right. So last week on episode 107, we had New York Times bestselling author Jasmine Darznik on the show, who was really incredible. So a few people wrote to us on that show. We have on YouTube a Hani Aryan. She wrote, "Thank you, team. Really enjoyed this interview and the new introduction. Professor Darznik's intellect and wonderful achievements have definitely stroked a nerve for many of us, I'm sure. Love this. History can tell you what happened, but fiction tells you what it was like." That was a direct quote from Jasmine herself. And then on Facebook, we have a Saleh Rajai wrote, "Thank you for this. Stories have been told by men throughout the history. It's refreshing to hear women's stories more and more. Thank you, Jian, for facilitating this opportunity."
Thanks for that letter. Appreciate it.
As well, last week on episode 108, we had Australian-Iranian founder of Persian Yoga, Kashi Azad, on the show. And Persian Yoga is essentially, what is it, Pahlavi type of...
Pahlavani.
Pahlavani.
I think Pahlavi sport would be a different one.
Yes. So, anyway. So on Facebook, we have a Sasan Imam wrote, "I think Kashi is the only fit person I've seen doing Varzish Pahlavani. I remember every time they'd show Varzish Pahlavani on Iranian TV, it would make me crack up because essentially I was watching a bunch of fat guys with big fat bellies doing push-ups at a snail's pace with their legs wide open and their asses right at your face in the camera. And of course, we all knew why you couldn't find a single fit person among them, because after finishing their thing, they would all go from the Zurkhune straight to the local Qahvekhune and stuff their faces with kalapach."
I think he actually said that.
Well, he said that you would. It's deceiving. You see these guys with the kebab bellies or whatever, but they're actually super strong. And I was thinking about that. I mean, I mentioned it on the last show that we have these images these airbrushed and contemporary images of what a fit body should look like. But if you think back to, go back 100 years even, and think about those circuses, for example, that the traveling circus with the world's strongest man, it was a guy with a huge belly, right? I mean, it wasn't like a guy who looks like John Stamos. It was a big man with a belly, because that was strength. I mean, they used that weight to leverage their strength. So it may be, also the conception of what we think is fit or strong now is it always changes with whatever generation you're in. But
yeah. And then on Instagram, we have a Azode Jorgensen wrote, I really like the modesty aspect of his talk and practice, and don't really care about who adopts my culture and who doesn't, as we all learn from each other. Thanks.
All right.
Then we have some general letters that came in. On YouTube, we have a Turaj Khosravi wrote, second time that you read my message, Princess Kyondort. I got blushed. This is in reference to our Clubhouse
I gotta
talk
double check
on
that.
names.
Did he actually say princess?
Yeah, he did actually. No, it's in direct reference to our Clubhouse talk on names, like Iranian names. And he goes on saying, I got blushed when I heard my name while I was working. Thank you for that. And maybe I should write some silly things myself to make you all laugh more. You already made us laugh. Thank you. And then he goes on saying, by the way, it would be great if you could possibly edit and add the Clubhouse sessions as well on your podcasts, as you Canadians love to start it pretty late. Me in Ireland can't really keep my eyes open till the end, and the conversation somehow becomes a lullaby. At the end, great job to you all. Warm hugs from cold Ireland.
Oh, wow.
Warm hugs back from Canada.
Yeah.
Turaj is in Ireland.
That's
who knew?
so cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know there are Iranians in Ireland. Never
No,
mind. I swear to God,
mean,
I realized. So interesting.
Did you think there was some kind of ban on Iranians in
No, I
Ireland?
just didn't think it's a place of migration necessarily.
Bedim Island.
No,
Island?
Yeah.
so good.
Go ahead. What do we got? Keep it going, team.
All right, and then
Pulling teeth today with this.
we have some comments on Castbox that came in actually. We have a Mehdi Rezai Borun wrote, congratulations to Roqe Team. I really enjoy listening to your podcast. Good thing that you do it in English so that the younger generations of the Iranian diaspora can easily connect to it. Thanks again.
Love it. I
Well
love when they
said.
say that they don't use the article in front. It's just Roqe Team.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Roqe Team, Dige. It is very good, Roqe Team.
And then Ehsan Noi wrote, hi, dear Jian. I became familiar with your podcast recently. Thanks for this program. It's so inspirational for me. Your voice is fantastic.
Ooh.
Thanks again and movafaq bashi.
Wow. Khamis qaranat. What kind of, that's a lovely letter.
Yeah.
That's the letter of the week in my mind.
No, but speaking of letter of the week.
Ehsan. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have the letter of the
Oh!
week.
Letter of the week.
So this one came to us from iTunes. We have a username, Minush wrote, amazing podcast. I love it. And it's so lovely to hear Jian's voice after a long time. The guests are very inspiring, but the best part of it is Jian and the way he comes up with questions. In one sentence, I can say it's the authentic Q with Iranian guests. Oh, and amazing music in the end. Well said.
Very nice. Thank you, Minush. And thank you, the fabulous Keon, Groovy Shaya, Captain Reza. That's full time for Rook for today. Thanks, everybody out there, for listening to us. Remember, you can catch any and all episodes of Rook and our guests and our specials and all of that at rookmedia.com, where you can also become a patron of our show. rookmedia.com is where to go. Thanks to the amazing team who put this show together. Thoughtful Nagin, the fabulous Keon, Sabi Roham, Ponsa the artist, producer Susan, Ahoy Merdad, Master Muhammad, Captain Reza, and Groovy Shaya. Thank you to all of you out there for supporting us and sharing our content. Please subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on right now. If you've not subscribed already, go ahead and do that. It's free. You can find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi. Mizun Bashi.